the Chicano house provided that support for what we would call non-traditional students because we didn't have a history of going to college before the university started adopting some of that support measures.
Right. I might say that even in the Chicano Studies Department where we were located in Sierra Hall, actually we were in what is Byramian Hall at first. That's where we were, first floor. And then we moved to Sierra Hall. But, we try to maintain an atmosphere of, again, support and where students felt, comfortable and secure. But at the same time, we started to realize that we had to encourage students as well to engage with the rest of the campus, not to isolate themselves, because we would get accused at times that we were segregating ourselves, Mm-hmm. They didn't understand that, yes, we were gathering ourselves. We had spaces that brought concentrations of Chicanos and Latinos for a purpose, but that wasn't I don't think our goal or objective to limit ourselves to that kind of isolation. We wanted them to engage with the campus, but engage from a position of strength, of being confident. And you got that, hopefully, from the department, from the faculty, from the Chicano house. And, you needed to get engaged with the rest of this campus and the rest of this world, because that's what you're going to go out into.
One of the things that, I don't know if you heard this, when I first came here to the university, I had a student who worked for me who was from Norwalk. And I said, well, why did the Cal State Fullerton? It's so much closer. Why did you come to CSUN from Norwalk? And she said, because you have Chicano studies. And I asked her, well, are you majoring in Chicano studies? No. But I knew because you had Chicano studies that I'd be welcome here. Mm-hmm. So I think you accomplished it.
I think we had a reputation. I've been asked, I've been here over 50, 60 years. Hey, is your department the best? And I said, we have a great department. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to say we're the best because I don't know all the other departments, okay? I hope they're all doing great out there as well. But I know that the real story was that they would grow to a certain point and sometimes meet a lot of challenges. And sometimes it was from the outside. Sometimes it was, infighting, you might say. And that was unfortunate. But I had to speak up for my department. I said, we're doing the best we can. We're not perfect. We have our differences as well, but we have been able to manage to go forth and grow. You know that any department on this campus grows when there's a demand for those courses, when there's students who want those majors, And we were able to keep that up and to see it grow, beyond 5 faculty.
Yeah, 30, aren't
something
there?
Like 25 or so full-time today and probably another 25 part-time. I don't know. It's a very big staff, very extensive curriculum,
I think there's also a stereotype that the only people who are taking courses offered the Chicano studies are all Chicanos, are all Latinos.
Well, it's for everyone, because we know a lot of people going out of this university with credentials and careers are going to be working with Chicano Latino people. Uh-huh. And we want, everyone to be informed about all the peoples that make up our community, our greater community here. But Chicanos and Latinos in the future, we're going to be a very significant portion of the population, as we all know and have seen now. So it only made sense that it was going to be in their interest to be informed about what Chicano Latino people are.
And I think the same could be said for the Chicano house, the Chicano house. It's not just, you don't have to be a Chicana or Chicano to attend the activities or events offered by the house. I think the Dia de los Muertos is probably the most obvious because hundreds and hundreds of people come.
Sure, and so the students in our classes that are not Chicano Latino background have an opportunity to engage with this community and this culture and we welcome them. It's we had persons in our UMass chapter that were not Chicano Latino background. I remember we had some even officers. All right, they're not Chicano Latino people, but their mind and their heart were with us, and that's what mattered. Predominantly, yes, it was Chicano Latino organization, but we tried to be, receptive to anyone who wanted to come and support, what we were working for.
Do you find, as someone who went to a different university, but I found that oftentimes in those courses, in the general education courses, where you're supposed to appreciate culture or communities, they are required. There were sometimes gaps in learning American history. And as someone who participated, with myself, in seminal periods of time in more recent American history, that sometimes professors were surprised to be challenged by someone who had a different view. I'm walking carefully because my alma mater still exists. And I actually think one or two of those professors I challenged are still around. I don't know if they're teaching still, but one was in particular was not that old. But I challenged in the classroom because I said, I was there. That's not how I remember it. Do you find that the education offered in Chicano studies, or even by the Chicano House, which are always open to anybody who wants to attend them, the events, help fill gaps or encourage that critical thinking about what may have been taught before?
Well, most definitely. I mean, we did our challenging. I think when we saw those gaps as well, it told us that we could participate in gathering that history that was not being included here. Mm-hmm. And I always would encourage my students to realize that their parents, their grandparents, even their neighbors were sources of information. Mm-hmm. I was, I decided at some point to even not just talk to my parents, and my father especially, who has a long history in California. He was born in the state of Sonora, right below Arizona, but his parents were born here in Ventura County in the 1870s, and beyond that, I'm not sure how long, our family has been here. But I interviewed him. Not only interviewed him, I eventually transcribed that conversation I had with him. And it told me so much. It helped me to hold on to a story of a person that was important in my family, my father. I told my students, we need to talk to our families. You need to talk to these people because, believe it or not, and this is hard to say to an 18, 19-year-old, Ama and Apa are not going to be around forever, nor abuelito. And I think that's one of the reasons why we don't take on a project like that, because we think we're always going to have them around. I used to think that. I couldn't think of life without mom and dad, But when it sinks in, you say, I want that story and I want to hold on to it. And so I did that. And I was able to, give it to the rest of my family as I printed it out and all. And, the most important thing is I had a niece who told me, Tio, when I read that interview, I hear Grandpa. I hear his voice. I said, that's what it's all about. You got a story. You got Grandpa around you because we have his story. And there's so much of that kind of work that we need to do to hold on to our stories, to hold on to who came before us and who helped us to get to where we're at. So we don't do enough of that, And getting back to the gaps in what's left out in the courses that are taught on this campus, that's part of it. We can be a part of that recovery, you might say, and not only as students, but then getting your career, getting your degree, your preparation, your academic abilities sharpened. You can participate in recovering that and publishing it and spreading it out. That's what this field is all about.
One of the things that strikes me now is with CSUN Chicano Studies program, or Mexican American Studies, the names change. When it started on this campus, there was resistance. It's 2025 now, probably 2025 when this airs, which would be weeks after our interview. But at CSUN, it's a given that this is one of our programs. It's not like, oh, should we have it? Should we get rid of it? It's more like, well, that's one program we're not going to get rid of. It's
Right.
just part of the DNA of this university. It's part of the DNA of this university as the Orange Grove is. Do you know what I mean? Don't you dare damn touch the Orange Grove, and don't you dare, do you know?
It brings to mind the importance, and I didn't realize this in 1969 when we brought Dr. Acuna in, that he did us I don't know if it's a great favor or what, but we later realized that when he insisted it be an academic department, it was like we were one of the studs in the wall. Mm-hmm. We weren't a program. We weren't a center. It's like a frame that you hang on the wall, and you can get rid of it very easily or change it very easily. But when you're dealing with something that's in the structure, mm-hmm. you might be able to get rid of it, but you're going to have to go through a lot of work to do it, a lot of struggle. We were in, and we could, keeping up our standards and reaching our objectives and carrying out our mission, we were going to be around. And, Dr. Acuna I think it was his insight that made this possible, that we were in this institution to stay for hopefully a good long time.
Well, I think Chicano Studies is part of the structural academic foundation. It's not just a stud. It's one of those big, tall steel.
Well, but I mean, we're in the wall. We're into it. You know what I mean?
It. But I think that philosophy of embracing culture of the people, in this instance, Mexican-American, Chicano, Latino people, and who are here, who are part of the makeup of California, extended beyond that particular group in appreciation and an incorporation into the academics of particularly this institution. Because CSUN is nothing if not who its students are. And its students overwhelmingly are students of color. Mm-hmm.
Well, definitely. I mean, look at the makeup of what it is today. It's and the students of today take possibly some of this for granted, that it was always that way. Yeah. It wasn't. And we have, I think, a much better, university reflective of the makeup of this part of the country anyway.
What would you tell, because you're still in the classroom. That's not saying you're not. You're still visiting every once in a while and you're lecturing. Yeah. What do the students say to you? Or do you ever tell them, that Chicano house, it didn't exist. It used to be. And when we started it, it was down in Parthenia and Lindley. It wasn't even on campus. Do they look at you like you're talking about fairies and unicorns? And
it's hard to get it across and try to take them into a world that's much different from what they're seeing right now, and I probably don't, share enough details with them, and that's because, well, to some extent, it's in our documentary that we have on the department, but there's a lot in that documentary that's not covered as well. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm organizing my photos, my documents, my recollections, and I want to leave it with those that might benefit from that experience. I don't want it to be housed in my garage. It's going to rot there. And hopefully it would be of some, benefit to others who want to know about those days and times. But when I have the opportunity, I give them as much of an understanding of the past. And the photos that I have and some of the recordings I have help to do that.
What are the things we need to know? that we should know about our history here?
Well, obviously that we weren't here at the beginning, or very minute numbers. That there have been, one of the things that has most impressed me is that there's been, of course, generations of students.
Yeah.
And we've been fortunate that in those different generations, there's been a certain number, a core, who've taken on leadership responsibilities, be it in UMAS or other Latino organizations, to keep the effort going here. And we're just not, should we say, grateful for the pioneers, but all their work would not have been known, or would not have served as great a purpose if it had not been for others who came in the late 70s, and those who came in the 80s, and those who came in the 90s and said, I'm going to help keep these doors open. I'm going to help this department continue to grow. I'm willing to go to those meetings, and I'm willing to organize, and even though I'm going to be gone hopefully 3-4 years and into my career, I want to leave. See, that kind of an attitude. I'm not saying they all come with that, but enough have come to be able to see growth here and the preservation of what some of us wanted to build.
Why do you think some of our academic programs engender so much passion and love like Chicano study does, and others don't? Because it is a respected academic field. It is an academic field. There's no question about it.
In the 70s and 80s, we were seeing, of course, many more, I think, movements and leadership that display that kind of, sacrifice on their part. And those examples inspired us. Sometimes we don't have enough of that today. And it's also been difficult to maintain a certain... The dynamism or the dynamics, the energy of a movement that was strong in the 60s and 70s it was going to be difficult to hold on to that in the 80s and 90s. But that's just a constant effort on our part that we need to keep trying. What else can I say? It's not always. I wish I would see even more activity and participation as we did back then, but we're competing with a lot of other, I call them sometimes distractions, and challenges as well, economically, especially for our students. They're drawn into other, responsibilities that they have either at home in their communities, and so it's a challenge.
What would you tell in this current climate, the 2025 climate, where there's so much pushback against programs and centers like the Chicano Studies or Chicano House? It's not American. It's not needed anymore. We don't need this anymore. It wasn't that long ago you were fighting for the creation of an academic field of study that is now internationally recognized. That's not that long ago.
That's the challenge, I'm telling you. And I don't have real quick answers on that because I ask myself every day, how can I best understand the younger set today?
Yeah.
What can I learn from them? What can I use? What strategies are going to be effective now? Because I can't depend on just the way I did things in the 70s that they might work today, So it's, sharing and talking and bringing up information and whatever we can have available to us that hopefully might enthuse them to but keep this going. When you get to talking about what is American, it's still something that I think is being defined by some of us, and we need that effort to, I know we use the word a lot, to be inclusive, but to hopefully teach this country that Chicano, Latino people and others who have been ignored or left out, we need to be a part of the story here. We have been a part of the story, and we're probably going to continue to grow in the story of America.
And that's what the house and the program do, is they continue to tell the story. Because the story, this is, to quote a book, a never-ending story. It's not something that, we close that chapter, we're done, we put the book away, and then pull it out every once in a while. It's changing, it's growing.
Yeah, it's and faculty and students of today on the campus will come up hopefully with what they need to address and how to address it. They can't depend on our ways necessarily, because they're not going to be effective. They're not going to meet the needs or the mediums that will connect and reach the youth of today. So, we can, those of us of a certain age can help to a certain extent, but then again, we don't have ourselves. We don't have the answers to all the strategies that should be taken.
Is there anything else we should know?
Well, if there is, I can't recall it all, but trying to accumulate information that will serve a purpose and inform people of what took place in the past, and I'm hoping that we'll continue to improve life here for everyone, really, not just Chicanos.
Thank you, Dr. Ruiz. It's been a pleasure, as always, to talk to you, and it's been fantastic. And I thank all of you for joining us for this episode of Matador Memories. Don't forget, you can find Matador Memories on the CSUN Conversation website, or where you get your favorite podcast, whether it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Thank you.